Hello everyone, this is a very unscripted video demonstrating the Build Your Toa tool for Bionicle Heroes. I think a unscripted, frank look at its capabilities is probably the best way to follow along. My name is Kralik, I'm an admin on the Bionicle Heroes modding Discord. I've made mods for Bionicle Heroes such as Myths of Void Nui and Double Vision, and I've also made the tool that I'm showing you guys today. So a bit of background here, of course, is LEGO Star Wars, which was developed by TT Games, the same company who made Bionicle Heroes, and is on the same game engine, actually, just a different version of it, comes with a character creator, right? So as you unlock characters in LEGO Star Wars, you can customize heads, bodies, arms, and etc., and make a custom LEGO Star Wars minifigure, basically. Now, Bionicle Heroes didn't have this feature. There's a few reasons we can guess at why. I mean, the main one seems to be that there's just not that many playable characters in the game. There's only 13, counting the 7 Paraka. It's a not insignificant amount of work to make some of the other characters kind of work with a system like that, seeing as, for example, characters like Rudaka or Sidorak are a very different size and shape from the core Toa, whereas in LEGO Star Wars, everyone's, roughly the same shape and size. And so that led to me thinking about how can we bring the very important element of Bionicle, which is expressing yourself, the creation of self-mocks, all that kind of thing, back into Bionicle Heroes. Now, over the years, especially in 2025 now, Bionicle Heroes has seen a lot of modding going on. And among these, of course, are character mods. So things like Voriki, Takanuva. And today, alongside the time this video is going live, the Okoto Heroes and Hordika Heroes mods. And so what this means is that right now we actually have a pretty sizable bevy of characters to pick from and parts to use. And so it made a lot more sense to build this tool. This tool was built with the help of Google's Gemini. The coding support there made this tool come along much quicker than I think it would have done otherwise, and is why it was ready for today. So there's all the background. Let's get into how the tool actually works. So first off, you need a Bionicle Heroes installation where everything is already unpacked. This is because the original game has all the game content stored in pack files, basically archive files, that you can't interact with whilst they're packed up. And you could unpack them all yourselves, or you could go to ModDB and download Modder Edition. I'll put a link to that in the description below. This is a version of Bionicle Heroes that is already fully extracted. So, once you have your installation, over here I have a copied version of Bionicle Heroes Modder Edition for testing here. What you want to do is you can either browse to it over here, or you can, copy the file path, paste it in there. When you go to save browse here, by the way, you'll know if you're in the right place because the tool will check if there's a Bionicle exe adjacent to where you're doing your edits. So once you've specified the game directory you want to edit, you now need to pick a Toa to replace. So of course we've got the 6 Toa here: Jala, Harley, Kongu, Nuparu, Huki, and Matoro. And we're going to stick with Jala for now. So there's these 3 checkboxes here: show all parts, show wildcard Toa, and apply to all 6 Toa. By default, every Toa has tags, so I'm going to explain a little bit more about that later, but basically, certain parts are designed to work with certain Toa. So for example, Jala has Hordika Vakama, Okoto Tahu, GWP Tahu, and Victorian Jala, as well as the default Jala body, and the DS Silver Toa body, since this mod was originally a character mod for Jala. Now, the body textures and the head files are actually interchangeable between Toa, but doing it this way means that for starters, it's pretty easy to find a combination that works, because these are all red, right? So let's pick Hordika Vakama's body, and then if we look at the head file, we'll see we also have a choice of different head files. Here I'm going to pick the Okoto Tahu head. And we'll look at some of these other features in a moment. But once you've done all that, you want to press Save Customization. Press OK. And then, let's start up the game. down. And so, if I head on over to the shop, which is the easiest place to show this, then you can see that we now have Okoto Tahu's head and the Hordika Vakama body. So, previously, the method by which you'd have to do this is you'd have to be a Bionicle Heroes modder, right? And you'd have to know how to do a head replacement, know how to do a body texture replacement. But that means that the barrier to entry is quite high if you're a Bionicle fan and you just kind of want to make a custom Toa. And so with this tool, it's way simpler. We just integrate all the stuff that's already done, and you can just make your own Toa right there and then. So let's demonstrate a couple of other examples now. So, like I said, every Toa has show all parts ticked off by default, because, you know, different Toa are designed to work with different color schemes. If I tick on show all parts, you'll see that we now have access to every body texture across all the Toa in the tool, which is quite a lot of them. I'm not going to recite them all here, but you can see there's quite a lot. And then every head file as well. So this is just every available Toa mod right now. We plan to expand this tool with more Toa heads and body files and so on in the future. So this time, for Jala, let's say we want Hordika Nuju. Actually, we just did Hordika. Why don't we do Okoto Pohatu's body and then pick Voriki's head? Press save customization. Go back into the game. As you can already see, we have got Voriki's head with Okoto Pohatu's body. So it's a bit of a hideous combination, of course. That is a freedom of the tool. You can make a freaky little dude if you want to. But there are some natural places here where you can really pick a combination that I think really works. So I'm going to tick off show all parts again for a moment, and instead I'm going to tick on show wildcard Toa. So wildcard Toa basically means Voriki and Takanova. And these are for, well, right now, Voriki and Takanova, but in future will be for any Toa that don't match one of the 6 core elements. So for instance, if there was ever extra Toa of Lightning mods, then we might do those as well. If there was, you know, other Toas of other elements, like Toas of Iron or Plasma or something, then we might do those too. But if we click on Show Wildcard Toa, then regardless of the Toa that you've chosen to replace, body files and head files will now show Takanova or Voriki. So let's go here again. Let's pick Takanova's body. And this time, I'm going to pick Muktoran Jala's head. Now, the reason why I'm going to do this combination is because Muktoran Jala, which is from another mod of mine called Muktoran Flavor, has a golden head. And so this is one of those places where it's already possible to create combinations that really kind of work. So let's press save customization. Then let's boot up the game again. And the reason I'm doing this, by the way, is audio options don't save. That's a Bionicle Heroes bug. Then if I head on over to Jala, you'll see we have a combination that works reasonably well. We've got a kind of a golden head on kind of a golden body. So, there's already a lot of combinations that will work here. I think there's combinations that will work across the Toa as well. For example, you can imagine Okoto Onua's body working quite well with Voriki because there's purple in there. You can also imagine a lot of the Toa of Earth and Toa of Ice bodies working interchangeably with a lot of different head types, since black is a great accent color and so is white. And yeah, in total, there's a lot of great combinations here. The last thing we can, of course, do, and we're going to give this a go for old time's sake, is we can apply these changes to all 6 Toa. Now, this is because one of the first add-ons released for a Bionicle Heroes mod, so that's not just an add-on for the base game, but in fact, a mod of a mod, was a mod for Voriki Heroes called Voriki Only mode, which made every single Toa into Voriki. So we can replicate that here with the tool by having body file Voriki, head file Voriki, apply to all 6 Toa, and then clicking save customization. And then, if we boot up the game, we should be greeted with a whole party of Vorikis. There we go. So, right now, of course, a few things aren't changed. HUD icons aren't changed right now. And neither are weapon files. These are both planned for a future version of the tool. But right now, the functionality is going to be just head and body models. So that's a rundown of all the uses of the tool. The last thing you'll want to know is if you want to go back to defaults, simply click reset to defaults, press save customization, press it again. Yeah, it's not an exact science. Press reset to defaults and press save customization is the idea. And then when you boot up the game again, all the Toa will be back to default. Okay, so how does this tool actually work? So there's a few. So this is going to be a technical explanation, and this is really designed for other modders. So at this point, if you've seen everything you want to see, go ahead and download the tool and go and get cracking on your custom Toa. Breaking down how the tool works a little bit. First of all, it's written in C++, powered by the Qt dependency framework. And that's why we've got all the DLLs here and everything. I wanted this file to be able to run without people having to install a bunch of stuff, so that's why we ship all the dependencies together. And given that you modify bodies and heads, there are fundamentally two components to the stuff in this tool, right? The body textures and the head models. So the head models are in the HGP format. This is the format used by Bionicle heroes. And this one's pretty easy. This is basically a rename and copy paste. That's what the tool does from this list of heads in here. That's because heads are stored as separate files in Bionicle heroes and aren't actually rigged. They're more like attached to an attachment point on the armature of the character. And so if we go into the heads.txt, you can see the format is like this, right? I'll just paste all these away to get a closer look. So first we have the name of the HTTP file, starting off kongu_movn.htp. Then we have here the description as it'll appear in the tool. So here it's going to be kongu movn head. And then lastly is the Toa that the part is intended for. So if you don't have the enable all parts for all Toa flag ticked on, then this is the Toa that the part will be shown for. And then the only other example of this to be aware of course, is if you have a Toa that's a wildcard Toa, you specify that here in the Toa field as being for a wildcard. So that's pretty straightforward. If you want to add your own heads to this repository, then I'll link this in the description below as well. But we have a GitHub where the files for all of this are hosted, and you can contribute your own head and body textures if you like. So then, the bodies. The bodies work a little bit more in a complicated way. So these are DDS files, not raw archive files. And that's because in Bionicle Heroes, the body textures are actually stored in their own archive file, right? But they're all stored in the same archive file, which means that we can't just copy around a bunch of different archives, because otherwise we'd have to have an archive of every possible combination, and that would, of course, not be scalable. So the way the tool works is actually, we feed it the precise offsets in the NUP for the, which is the file type of the archive, in the NUP archive for the bodies. And then what we do is the tool replaces the hex data from that offset to the next offset along, using the hex data of the DDS files here. So you can see, of course, we've got like GWP Tahu's body, Victorian Jada's body, and so on. And these follow the exact same format as the heads, only, of course, it's a .dds and not a .htp. And again, if you want to contribute your own, you can do so on GitHub. You can contribute a body retexture, and then you just need to add it to the text file. And I'll review these merge requests as they come in. So that's the technicals of how the tool works, how it was built, and what it can do. I don't want to speculate too much about where we'll take the tool in future. There's a lot of directions we could take it. The most important place right now is, I think, custom weapon models, not necessarily custom weapon functions. But then I'd also like to account for any future character mods that are released, of course, to expand the availability of edits for the tool. And then I'd also like to add a few more heads from the base game, which kind of, you know, owes itself more to the sort of Lego Star Wars way of doing things. So, for example, it shouldn't be too hard to do things like port Axon, Sidorak, or Rudaka's heads into usable formats. The Rakshi heads as well, for instance, the Paraka heads. All of these should be doable and be able to be used as part of the Create Your Own Toa tool. And yeah, that's a full breakdown of where we are right now, where we'd like to go, how the tool works. I hope you guys enjoy using this tool. I think it really delivers on a childhood promise of this game that maybe a lot of us wanted, but didn't get. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Go ahead and enjoy.